I was meant to do this job. Like, this is my dream job. I get to help build a community, and it's legacy work. So the work that we're doing at the partnership is going to be making a difference today and 10 years down the road. So that's why I'm here, and I from a professional standpoint, that, and I just get to work with super smart, really dedicated, like all in people, and I just love that. I've just met some super amazing people here that have really become really close, like family, and this is a great place to raise kids, and that's really important to me, and so that's why we've stayed. It's community. I guess it's community for both, right? Like for professionally and personally.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Ryan Snod. It Rhymes with Odd, and you're listening and watching the Rhymes with Odd podcast. Today, we're welcomed with another guest from the area. This is Courtney Shaw. Welcome to the podcast, Courtney.
Thanks for having me. Glad
Absolutely.
to be here.
Yes. So today, we are talking about all things like regional marketing. And we'll kind of dig into your backstory a little bit, but for people that don't know who you are, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So, Courtney Shaw, I am the Chief Communications Officer at the Great Des Moines Partnership, and I get the awesome experience of telling the DSM USA story loud, bold, and broad, using my background, my experience to utilize communications and marketing and tell why Greater Des Moines region is a great place to live, work, and play, and have fun and experience.
Absolutely. Well, We're really happy to have you on the podcast. I think this will be a fun talk because we've been connected enough to know enough about each other, but we're distant enough from each other that there will be some actual question and answering going on today. So that'll be helpful to kind of get to know your story a little bit. Because how long have you lived in Des Moines?
So I've lived here for almost 12 years.
Okay.
Originally from Austin. So you will hear me say y'all. For sure. I get questions about that all the time. It's just the southernness is in my blood. But this is my home 100%. Whenever we moved here originally, it was only going to be for a short period of time, but we fell in love. Like we knew this was our community. We knew this was our place. And so it's really great to be here. So a little bit of backstory is from Austin, I went to Oklahoma State. I originally was going to be a nurse, and my sophomore year of college, one of my roommates cut off the tip of her finger with an X-Acto knife.
Oh!
Yeah. And I was like, I'm on this. Let's go to the emergency room. We get to the emergency room, and I couldn't handle it. Like I could not handle the finger situation. And so
was it the blood, the gore? What kind of tripped you up on that?
It was the blood and like the smell, and I know I'm embarrassed still. But the next day I went in to my counselor's office, and I was like, yeah, I can't be a nurse anymore. I've got to do something different. So then I switched to elementary education because that's what all my friends were doing. Then that summer, I was a lifeguard and had to blow my whistle about 5 million times to tell kids to quit running around the pool. And I was like, you know what? I'm picturing this continually being something I would do if I were a teacher. So then I thought, gosh, what would I really like and what do I enjoy? And that was, I really was interested in meteorology and the weather. And so I had to start taking broadcasting classes. And that's what got me into public relations, really having to take those intro PR classes and learn more about marketing. And I was like, wow, this is really neat. This is where I'm meant to be. So I ended up getting my degree from Oklahoma State. Go Cowboys, even though Iowa State did just beat us. So for all those Cyclones out there. You're welcome. And graduated there with my undergraduate degree in public relations and then my master's in communications. And made my way up here.
Sure. So did you just stack your master's right after the undergrad?
Yeah.
Was that a 2-year program, or did you
Yes.
could you front load some of those classes like your 4th year to kind of get it done faster?
It was a 2-year program.
Okay.
And I was a research assistant, so that was really cool. I worked at Oklahoma State while working on my master's and got to do some really cool research in communications world.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So take me to the point where when you went into school with nursing, what did you think it was going to be before you got exposed to the blood and gore? What was the appealing part of that career path before you had kind of seen it firsthand,
Yeah. Well, in high school, I had a variety of different jobs. One of them was working in a assisted living center, and I just really loved helping people. Whenever I worked there, we also had a memory care facility there. So just like helping and being there for those who need support. And that's why I was originally going into nursing. So I feel like I still get to do that in a couple of different ways, like get to help our community. And I also get the opportunity to serve on several boards and committees here locally that I know are making a difference too. So I think I'm doing that just in a different way.
Sure. That makes sense. I always find it interesting too, because most people I talk to, especially when I was a freshman in college, talked to all the first year classmates, and there'd be people that say, "Oh, I'm pre-med," and I take one look at them, I'm like, "You're never going to make it." Like, that's just what you told your grandparents at your high school graduation party to make them feel like they're going to go do something with their life. I'm like, "There's no way. Like, you're just not the person for it." So,
right.
I always think it's interesting, like where people end up, because. Joey Beach, it was our second interview on the podcast. She always says, no job's a bad job. Like any experience you have, any like exposure to, I mean, even if it's like the worst job ever, then I never want to do this again. Yeah. So you can kind of like expand that way.
Yeah. What's been your worst job ever?
I usually say, so freshman year, I was trying to get an internship in college, and I couldn't get one because they're like, you need experience to get your entry-level experience, right? So I couldn't get one anywhere in Des Moines, so I moved back home to Southeast Iowa for 3 hours away, and my mom helped me get she's like, they're looking for summer temps at the meat plant where we're in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't even have an interview. I just showed up, and they're like, you got the job. Here you go. Here's your welcome packet. So I did training, whatever, and then basically I was working third shift at like a place that makes Hormel chili. So it was like 10:30 at night until 9 in the morning. Oh. And I luckily wasn't in the manual labor area. There's like people that wear Oompa Loompa outfits, and they manually move lines of weenies because like hot dogs are on these long sausage links that go, and they're like 70 pounds each, and you pick them up and move them. You just do that all night. And I was like, I cannot do that because I'm going to like fry my shoulders, and it's like going to be really painful. But ended up getting the packaging area. And I always tell this story. It was kind of my aha moment. I was working in there at like 2:30 at night, and a guy came running in. He's like, "You?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Come with me." I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He's like, "There's been an explosion in the chili room." And there's this huge tank that had chili in it, and a guy had fallen asleep while he was operating it, and it had boiled over like 6 hours. It had overcooked, so there's burned lava volcano of chili pouring everywhere. So I had these muck boots on, and me and like 15 other people had shovels and trash cans just trying to like keep up with it until they could turn it off. And there was a moment where I was like, this sucks so bad. I never want to do this again. So I went back to college. I never missed a class. I graduated with my 4-year degree, and now I do something that I enjoy to do. So
no more chili explosions.
Yes. Well, and there was like, the managers were saying, if you want to come back next year, if you're interested in management, I'm like, absolutely not. I will never be back here again. Like, I don't even know if I can look at Hormel chili again. So.
Well, I like what Joey had to say. I could not agree more. That's pretty smart. Sure.
What about you? What was your worst job that you ever had? And you don't have to say the company if you really have to. If you're gonna spill some salt on people here.
No, so. I've enjoyed all the jobs I've had. I'm trying to think. I think the shortest job I had, for 5 hours, did cold calls to sell credit cards when I was in college and did not have any money. So that didn't last long. We had lunch break, and I called my supervisor on my way back, and I was like, I can't. People are too mean. And so that was not like out of the norm for that company.
And they're probably like, toughen up.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's just not me, Well, I learned something about myself. Like, that's not for me, I think I've had so many random jobs like through high school and college. Let's see. I have been a waitress. I worked at a sign shop. I worked at a pet store. I played sports growing up, and so like the sports schedule was really dependent on like my work schedule. So I didn't hop around a lot. It was more or less like between seasons of different sports. So, but I feel really fortunate that I got to do a lot of fun stuff and meet cool people along the way. And of course, that's where you learn things about yourself too.
Sure. I think it's a process for sure, figuring out. And again, you learn things. You can find one good thing about every job that you had, and
yeah.
Even in my crappy meat plant job, there was one time when my whole job was to run an emergency machine where if the conveyor belt shut down further down the line, they'd have to redirect all the cans coming out of the wall from the furnace to my machine. So I'd have to like stack pallets and pallets of like chili, and I can't screw it up because I'm the only option. So it's like only busy 10% of the time, 90% of the time you're just waiting, but it's kind of like being a firefighter. Like you're kind of sitting around, but when you're called, you need to like actually do your job.
Yeah.
People could get in trouble. So that was the one thing I liked about it was like when the pressure was on, I was like, okay, it's go time,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you were relied on for that. The chili people needed you.
Yeah, exactly. And then the guy before me fell asleep and the whole thing exploded. And he needed me to come and shovel. So, but no, I think it'd be kind of helpful too to understand. So you'd said you were in Oklahoma.
Yes.
What prompted you to come all the way to Des Moines, Iowa? Like you're in the South, kind of doing your thing. Why Des Moines? What took you up here?
Well, after graduation, I worked for a company called Digital Tutors. We made training for computer graphic artists. And my role there, I kind of worked my way as like a PR specialist into the marketing director. It was really neat because we worked with artists at Pixar and DreamWorks and got to visit some really cool locations. And we were like our product was on the cutting edge of things and like innovation. Like we were pushing out, like online videos.
Whoa!
I know. Like at about the same time Netflix was. And so like we transitioned from like a physical DVD product to online library, which was like kind of a first of its kind at that time, which is dating me a little bit. But
was this like early 2000s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And so that was when it was taking place, it was our CEO was very progressive and very innovative, and we thought it was so cool. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, that was really neat to be like on a team that was like just thinking through all these like cool and different ways to bring content to people. And like, what an awesome, like it was also at the time too where like social media was becoming more of a communication tool for businesses. So I got to be on the front end of that too. So it was a really cool place to be. So I worked there for several years, loved it, had a great time, worked with some super smart people. And then my husband, who's in the ag tech world, got an opportunity to move up here to work in the ag space. And of course, Iowa, of course, makes sense, right? Came up here, we were going to live here for 2 or 3 years, and this is it. We just knew it. And so that's what brought us here. Originally, I started off doing some consulting and freelance work, kind of still had some clients in Oklahoma. So I was going back there occasionally. I liked, at that time, we had really young kids. I liked the consulting and freelance aspect. I could, make my own schedule. But also I was working by myself in a basement and didn't really have a lot of connections here either. So I had to work pretty hard to, at first, build a network. But one of the best things about living here is community connection. I don't think that there are a lot of places that I know of that do it as well as we do. I feel like here in DSM, we have the opportunity to get involved, and people want other people to get involved. And so it was easy. It's like it just took one person to help me find a path and get involved, to meet more people who would help me find another path in other areas. And here we are, about 12 years later.
Sure. Because with the consulting side, were you doing that as a part of your master's program, or did you have a period where you were like, I'm just going to go kind of dive into an industry and learn more about it?
Yeah, so I worked at Digital Tutors for several years, and then whenever we started having kids, I decided to move into consulting work, and just through networks in Oklahoma, had the opportunity to do a little bit of consulting for healthcare, for nonprofits, some for-profit businesses too. So it was kind of a mix of different work there, and it varied too. It was all the way from like posting on social media to placing commercials. So it varied, and I did that for probably 2 or 3 years, and then decided I really was missing the collaboration component. I just loved that so much. I love working with people and like ideating and working a plan, like creating a plan and working the plan. And so that's when I decided to move out of consulting and then work at Strategic America, which is an advertising agency here in West Des Moines.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were at SA for what, like 10 years, 5 years?
I think it was around 5.
Okay.
5 years I was there.
Yeah, because agency life's such an interesting thing. Like when I was looking at interviewing for jobs when I was in college, I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because I was looking and I was like, oh, like work for a big company. That was what I thought I wanted to do. And then I went and talked to some of these people in like finance, insurance, things that I wasn't super passionate about. And then you start to talk to some of these people, and they're just like just gloss comes over your eyes. You're like, I want to care so bad about what this is, but I don't at all. So it's like that. The agency side for me, it was really appealing because it was like, oh, it's like different problems. And it's like, we're not constantly trying to sell a widget or sell a service. It's like, how do we build a brand? And it's not just for one brand. It's like a fleet of brands, all the different clients we have. It's like all of them have different challenges and stuff. So that was always fun. Just when I was talking with agency side or the, the creative side, where it's like, oh, and people are encouraged to, have crazy off the wall ideas because that's what sells things and that's what gets results, where people in a company might be afraid to raise their hand and say something off the wall because they might not have a job anymore if they say the wrong thing. Yeah. So that's interesting. What was your experience on the agency side of doing that?
Yeah. So I really enjoyed working at SA. I worked in the public relations department, and we had the opportunity to work with so many different clients. And I enjoyed that because you're learning about different organizations and different needs. And what I really liked about it too was like the opportunity to work on strategy and really connecting what the needs of the company are with the communication aspect of things. There are so many great things about an agency. I learned a lot about project management and how to really utilize my time. I also learned about timesheets and how I really don't like them. After I left Strategic America, I would have nightmares about, I forgot to fill out my timesheet. But you know what that taught me was that every hour that we spend, that a group of 10 people spend in a meeting, that costs a certain amount of money. And so to really be efficient with your time and your budget is what I learned from that experience.
Well, the timesheet nightmares of like, if you don't fill this out, you don't get paid, and we can't keep track of our clients, and everyone management gets really upset with you.
Right. And so, I enjoyed working there, and I liked the ability to switch gears and think about this nonprofit client over here versus this government client over here and this for-profit. So it really helped me kind of understand and kind of put some puzzle pieces together for different clients, which stretched my thinking and creativity too.
Sure. No, I love that. It reminds me of when I was working in the agency world for 4.5 years, a lot of my clients were in the ag space, and I had no clue about any of the, like, what are the challenges they're having, blah, blah. So like I would just go out and call anyone I knew that was in agriculture. I'm like, are you in the tractor right now? Like, are you just sitting down? Yeah, I got nothing to do. I'm like, okay, can I take like 10 minutes and just like, what do you care about with, this, that, and the other thing? Like, just try to understand the customer. Cause I'm like, I can't, as a marketer, stand behind this strategy if I know it's like BS to the end consumer. They're going to look at it and be like, this is stupid. Like, this guy clearly doesn't understand my industry. So that was kind of interesting too, is like, okay, put on my farmer hat. Like, what would Farmer Joe say to this or whatever, like the end customer, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's super smart because it really is about connecting with your audience, and who knows the audience best but the audience themselves.
Sure. Absolutely. Because I know from SA experience, you went, I think that's when you transitioned into the partnership, right?
Yes.
And that's where we first met.
Yeah.
Because I interned at the Greater Des Moines Partnership in the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute area downstairs for a summer, or for a year, I should say, for 12 months. So I kind of got a little taste of like what the partnership does and everything. But for people that don't know, what is the Greater Des Moines Partnership and what do you guys do?
Yeah. So the Great Des Moines Partnership, we are an economic development and talent development organization that represents the Greater Des Moines region. We represent 11 different counties across our community, and we have partnerships with the affiliate chambers within that area, as well as the members of those affiliate chambers of commerce. So supporting all of our great local businesses here. And we also have our investors who help us drive action to create quality of life for everyone that moves here in DSM USA. Amongst other things, we get to do a lot of fun work, including we have vibrancy events, which you all may heard of the Downtown Farmers Market. Pretty cool.
It might be one of the biggest in the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Award-winning for sure. And we do more than just that, but I brought that up because we do a lot of placemaking. We know that residents and even visitors too really enjoy and need quality of life type of attractions and events, and placemaking is part of that. So think about like our amazing skate park that we have, the largest in the nation, by the way, if you haven't heard, and the sculpture park, and all across the region, right? So it's all the way from Pella to like the Knoxville Raceway. So we have a lot of really amazing amenities here.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff here because a lot of people. To give you an idea, my dad's side of my family, there's about 60 of us or so, and I'm the only one, besides one of my cousins who her husband's in the Air Force and they travel, I'm the only one that's moved within more than 20 minutes away from our hometown.
Yes.
And why are you in Des Moines? I'm like, I could not do what I do anywhere else in the state. I would have to go to another place to do what I do. And it's like 3-hour drive away from basically every corner of the state. You can get everywhere. It's such a cool thing to kind of the industry, the business growth here, all different stuff. I'm a fan. Obviously, I've decided to live here and start my family and everything here. Yeah. So
cool. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting is one of the facts that we share out is that on average, 27 people move to Greater Des Moines every day. We are the fastest growing Midwest city. And I think that's something to be proud of. You know, we're hearing a lot about population decline, but we're growing here, and I think that's awesome. And I think that has a lot to do with the momentum that we collectively have in making this a great place.
Absolutely. When I see other from the employer side, I see this a lot because I've shot a lot for Ankeny Economic Development Corporation. They just rebranded to the Ankeny Business and Industry Collective, which is equally as long as a name. So, but they always talk about like their entire organization pushes just businesses moving there and reinvesting, building. It's pretty easy sell. I mean, when it's like I-80, I-35 connection, there's all these other people. Like Ankeny, I think has anywhere from I want to say the number was like 10 people a day moved to Ankeny, or it was there for a while. I don't know if it's still growing at that pace, but it's kind of good to be a salesman for a region when it's a good region to move to. It's not like a downward spot. I always think of like Flint, Michigan, or Detroit, Michigan, where there's like these communities that just need a lot of extra effort and time and investment. And not to say Des Moines is perfect by any means, not anyone nowhere is perfect, but having a good place to promote is helpful, right?
It makes my life a lot easier. Yeah, right. When you have a great place already, you know. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So you came in the marketing department. and kind of rose through the ranks. So tell me a little bit about how your role changed as you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, so I started as VP of Communications, and kind of got my feet that first year, and slowly worked my way up to SVP of Comms, and now I am the Chief Communications Officer. So I think that's just one, shows the support that the Great Des Moines Partnership has for advancement in the organization. And two, there were just opportunities too that came available with just transition of our business over several years too. So my role originally started with leading our media relations efforts amongst other PR and comms work. And now I'm doing, overseeing the communications and marketing team, which I say is the best communications and marketing team in the galaxy. I am 100% biased, but also fact-based. And now I get to do operations and strategy for the organization too, and support the vision and mission of our organization and our CEO.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And how many people are on your team, or is it all the marketing people? So there's like graphic design, there's the PR side. Like, how many different people are kind of involved in what you guys do from a strategy standpoint?
Yes. So there are 9 on the communications and marketing team, and we're all niche in our areas of focus. So you're right. Graphic design, web administrator, photo, video, social media blogs, marketing, media relations, content, the whole bit. But
Sure.
Everybody's super, super talented and very collaborative too, which is really important to me.
That's great.
Yeah.
So just for the people that are listening, if they don't fully understand, like, how do you guys, one, make money? Because are you guys a nonprofit?
We're a nonprofit.
Okay. So how do you guys make money, one, to pay all your staff and do all the stuff you guys do?
Yes.
But also, what are kind of the main focuses of promoting a region in general? There's so many layers to it. So let's start first with, how do you guys monetize what you're doing or make money from it? And then what do you specifically do to help do that type of thing?
Yeah. So from the financial standpoint, we are funded from our investors. So our businesses here in Greater Des Moines believe that the work that we're doing, getting businesses here, growing businesses here, getting people here, and providing a quality of life for people who already live here, are really important to the growth of our region, and couldn't agree more. But they are how we are funded. And then we also have a dual membership model. So, for example, if you are a local business and you are a member of the XYZ Chamber of Commerce, you are also a member of the Great Des Moines Partnership, because we know that local businesses are also a very strong backbone to our community. All those unique, different business offerings are important to the people who live here, and the businesses are here too. So that's how we are kind of funded and supported. And what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
No, that was great.
Okay.
That helps answer kind of how the money comes in and how you guys can promote and stuff, because it's almost like it's attracting in, but also encouraging the people that are still here. It's not just a sales model where it's like, move here and then we don't care about you now that we hit that number of getting X amount of people to move here. It's like, move here and stay here, build your business here, work for the companies here, start your family here, all that stuff.
Right. Yes. It's talent attraction and retention. Once people are here, we want to get them to stay here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, now I'm going to forget my own question. It was, how do you guys make money? And then the different things that you guys provide for people. Because you said there's like different community events. There's different things. I mean, obviously that, but then just in my time working there, I know you guys put on a lot of events for local business owners, mixer events, just connection, collaboration. Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff you guys do.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So our offerings for our investors and members are varied. So first and foremost, those who are investors have the opportunity to have their voice in the work that we're doing. So each year we create a scorecard on the things that we're going to be working on for the upcoming year that ladder into our 5-year vision. And I think that's one of the core elements of investor involvement and participation there. And that's where our engagement comes into. So we have several boards, councils, and committees. We have a great team, great comms and marketing team that can help with like PR and media needs. And kind of leaning into that a little bit too is we know that the stories that happen here are what makes this a special place. And so we work to help amplify our investor and member stories. So all the good news, we are the cheerleaders. We want to help share out what's taking place here. And so we help share out the news for our members, investors through all of our channels. And including, I think we have like 15 or 16 social media channels, 5 or 6 newsletters, our website, our blog, all those fun different channels, of course. Mm-hmm. And there are so many other offerings too. We have events that are really they're various in nature for the different audiences. So you spoke to small business. So yes, that is an area where we have, for example, Small Business Success Summit, and we have monthly programming called Top 5, where you can, top 5 for learning this or top 5 for learning that. We also have DEI services where we can help businesses who are focusing on inclusion or belonging. So the list kind of goes on and on. Really, at the end of the day, we're a collaborator, we're a connector, and we want to support our investors and members. For sure.
No, I think it's interesting the different stuff you do because there's so many levels of it, right? There's the top line, like what is Des Moines? Why would I move here for the external audience? But then there's the, like you said, cheerleading from within. And then there's all the other stuff there's like Catch Des Moines and other groups around that do, promote the region as well. So it's almost like this deafening roar of like, move here, like you should stay here. This is great. It's kind of like this, just keep putting the message out there until people understand and come visit. So
yeah. Well, you brought up Catch Des Moines, and they're a great partner, and the work they're doing is awesome. If you haven't tapped into that and looked at it, you're missing out, but they do a great job. We know that today's tourists are tomorrow's talent. And so we really lean into that because we know that once people visit here, they can see how great and special it is. So we definitely work to get people here and connect with Catch on that and get people back and hopefully living here.
That's great.
Yeah.
So to kind of connect it to the marketing stuff you've done in the past, how does marketing an entire region, not just a city, but central Iowa in general, how does that differ from selling, like promoting a product or a service or just in general, like a brand? How do you market a region?
Yeah. So I think they're kind of similar. Like they're definitely different, but there are so many similarities between marketing a place and marketing a product. Like one is physical, obviously, and one isn't necessarily, right? So anything that is worthy of doing has data or research behind it, right? And so through the research we have done over the years, and different points in time too, for that matter, that has helped us build out the messaging, the brand. So we're using that information to really build out and sell our place. And so I think that's been a large part of it. But really, at the end of the day, it's taking the research, using that to create your strategies, and then from there building out your tactics. And so and you do that for a product, and you can do that for a place too.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting looking at, again, the because anything that can be measured can be improved, right? It's like, how many people are moving here a day? That's a good number to look at. How many employers are there? How many jobs available are there? And knowing that jobs and talent, that whole river is how you get people, right? Because if there's an abundance of jobs here that pay well, there's going to be more people that would move here. And then once you have a job, then, you need to buy a house. And, you need to buy a house and you go to a school system. Like, you kind of plug into a community, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the companies that you guys partner with, and then what you guys do to attract like the job talent and kind of pushing that initiative for people.
Yeah. So real quickly as a side note, you have a young child. So have you heard of the if you give a mouse a cookie? Have you read that book?
Yes, love that book.
Okay, yes. So what you were just saying was like very much like related to that story. So like it's like if you find a person a job, then they need to have a house. And if they have a house, they need to live in a safe place. And if they need to live in a safe place, they, and so that's kind of what that reminds me of. But it's really interesting. So it used to be, and it still somewhat is to a degree, that people would find a job first and then move. But what we're seeing a slight shift in is that people are looking at place and then finding a job. So there's still both sides for sure. And that's why we have different strategies for both. So for example, soon we're going to be updating and launching a new career center so people can find really local jobs from our investors and members. And then we're kind of pulling them in from that angle. But we also have a strategy in a really cool site called Do Something Greater in Greater Des Moines. And
I like it.
Yes.
It sounds
play on
great.
Words. Oh, it is great. And so we showcase off our region and the people who live here, the neighborhoods we have here. And so we get to show that sense of place. And the two are obviously connected. So you can come in at different touch points and see the offerings from different angles dependent on, if you're looking for a place, we have this content over here. And if you're looking for jobs, we have this entry area over here. So, so that's what we're doing from that standpoint.
Sure. When I compare it to, I was just telling you off air, I just got back from a trip to Nashville for one of my classmates, and I was talking with him and a couple other friends that were there that live in Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee area. And it's such an interesting, because I knew this conversation was coming up this week. So I'm like thinking about this on the plane. I'm like, oh, this is like actually interesting to bring up. So my friend I grew up with in high school, he went to college in Queens, New York, ended up getting a full-time job for a consulting firm in Chicago. And there's a bunch of my friends from Southeast Iowa that moved to Chicago. And they were there for 5 years or so for the jobs, it was, that type of thing. And then COVID hit. They couldn't leave their homes. There was no vibrancy. There's no interest. There's nothing keeping them there besides an overpriced lease that they can't get out of in their apartment. So then a bunch of them decided to move to Nashville because they're like, for half what we're paying in rent, we could just buy a house here. And there's no income tax. There's all these other things going on. It's a cool place. So they did what you were talking about. They moved. Well, one of them had a job before they left, but one of them was remote. So they just went and they just left, And it's interesting to see the migration of younger talent to different kind of hotspots around the country, because the people that get it, where if we are very intentional about the vibrancy, the interest, the stuff going on, that people can see themselves living here. I feel like it's one of those things like a Field of Dreams deal where if you build it, they're going to come.
Totally.
But I feel like other places fixate on one thing, like New York. It's loud, it's busy, it's crammed, but you got to move there if you want to be in show business, right? Or LA, it's like if you want to get into the entertainment industry and be an actor or an actress or a comedian or something, you have to live there. And you have to put up with subpar other parts of the region solely for that one little thing that you love about being there. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts on this, because how do you build a region that has all the things, or that tries to hit on as many things as you can to be as interesting to the broadest amount of people as possible?
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, you don't have to give up anything to live here. Like you can get anywhere in 20, 30 minutes, which is pretty cool. We recently went to Chicago on a family trip, and we were, I think we were in traffic for 2 hours. I know, with a family of 5. Yeah.
Hey, look, kids, Big Ben.
I'm like,
hey, look, kids.
Sorry, boys. So, I think that it's like the basic stuff that, it's like you don't have to have like every single bell and whistle to make it a special place. I think it's like, and we know this from our research too, that we did last year about this time. But it's so basic, right? It's like safety and security, check. We're not perfect, right? But like this is a great place, right?
You can walk the streets at night and hopefully not feel afraid, or
Right.
during the day. Like you can go out, leave your house.
Right.
Yep.
Great schools, check. We have awesome events, and we have awesome restaurants and music, and those are all growing scenes too. So when we were doing this research, people said that they were so surprised at all the offerings that we have. And I was like, oh, hey, look at us, like doing our thing and getting noticed for the stuff that we've been working on, like 8035 and Hinterland. And so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and I know one of my classmates lives in Kansas City, and I'm always just amazed why every weekend there's something going on there. There's a huge A-list, musician or comedian or show or something going on. So it's always interesting because I'll ask him, what's going on? Beyonce's in town. And it's like, oh, casual. Or like Taylor Swift was there, it's like, oh, okay. And then like, the Royals just won the World Series, and then the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl a couple years in a row. It's like they're just firing on all cylinders of like entertainment, like bring people here.
Yeah.
But it's, again, some of the things, there's downsides, there's pros, there's cons, but it's like when the stars align and everyone's coming in all the time. I think of like my wife went to Taylor Swift in Minneapolis, and just like the amount of economic impact that has to have the biggest artist in the world in your city for a weekend. Every hotel is booked out, every restaurant is busy, every bar is poured over with people. There's people in the parking lot singing the songs that they can hear, stuff like that. It's like, if you can build a place that encourages that, I mean, that's more on the Catch Des Moines side, but it's like it's ebb and flow, it's pistons that go in unison,
Yeah.
Because if people come, they have a great time. Oh, this is really nice. Like, when I was in Nashville, like that city's designed for like young women to enjoy. It's like a bachelorette headquarters of the world or whatever. My wife was leaving. She's like, I love this place. I want to come back. I'm like, of course you do. It's like designed for you to enjoy. It's like it's bachelorette party place or girls trip place. So she was like all about it, and we'd never been there before. So it's like she'll probably end up going back again and do more things while we're there. So
yeah. Well, I think that what's really interesting is you were saying that too, is like all these places are themselves. And I think they're being authentic to who they are. And I think that's what we're doing too, is this is who we are. We're Greater Des Moines. Yes, there is some corn here, and that's cool. But we also have like amazing places to eat and safe schools, and we have some real cool stuff coming online, like the Water Trails project, which is going to be a game changer for us. Yeah,
tell me about that, because I know I was reading in the Register about when they first like closed that deal, because it's like Whitewater Rapids through Des Moines River, right?
Yes, okay. Downtown. It's going to be real cool. It's gonna take some time, but there's a lot of community support, and I think activating the river is going to be great for placemaking, like kind of what we were talking about already. So I think we have real interest in further outdoor recreation. Our bike trails are the best. They are amazing. We have really great parks all across the region, and so I think this is just going to be another great amenity for those who like to be outside and on the water.
Sure. So it's like man-made rapids, basically, right?
Yeah.
In downtown Des Moines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can go in at the northern part and then like hopefully make it through. I just always think of like Colorado White Rapids, where you're like getting thrashed around like, oh, I got helmets on. Like, if you don't see me again, tell my family I love them. Is it going to be like that, or a little more chill?
I am envisioning it being more chill.
Okay.
Of course, you always have to be safe, right? But it's more than just the downtown aspect. We're going to be connecting over, I think, 86 different water trails across the region. So it's not just downtown, but everywhere. And you can get on a kayak and float the river. And being from Texas, that's what we did during the summer. You get in the river, you float it. It's super fun. And so I'm looking forward to doing that here.
Sure. So switching gears we talked about all the amenities we offer in Des Moines, but what's your personal favorite part about living here, both from the professional side and then from the personal side? Like, why do you were a transplant here, so you voluntarily stayed, It's not like I grew up here and I'm just like, I'm too bored or lazy to leave. It's like, why did you move here, and then why have you continued to stay here?
I think that from a professional standpoint, I'll start there. I was meant to do this job. Like, this is my dream job. I love this. You know, you were talking about earlier agriculture and finance and insurance, which is a large part of what's happening here. And I get to support those things through a different lens. I get to help build a community, and it's legacy work. So the work that we're doing at the partnership is going to be making a difference today and 10 years down the road. So that's why I'm here, and I from a professional standpoint, that, and I just get to work with super smart, really dedicated, like all in people, and I just love that. I grew up playing sports and have a competitive, like, go get 'em attitude, and I work with people like that too. So we're all on the same team, we're rowing in the same direction and making a difference. And then personally, I've just met some super amazing people here that have really become really close, like family. And this is a great place to raise kids, and that's really important to me. And so that's why we've stayed. You know, it's community. I guess it's community for both, right? Like for professionally and personally, and that's why we're still here and we love it. We're
Sure.
not going anywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When I think finding that right combination, right? You said you wanted to check the need to haves, but then there's the nice to haves. Like you said, it's a good place for young people, for old people, for in between people. There's like things for all different types of people, and I think. For me, I really appreciated the work the partnership's been doing because, I mean, I interned there, obviously, but I went to all the events because I was there already. I'm like, might as well go.
Right.
And then you get to just have conversations with people. Like, you could never go to another city, at least in my own mind, and get, like, FaceTime with a Fortune 500 CEO. Like, there's no way that they would ever give me the time of day to just have a conversation or whatever. Or if you need help with something, you can call, and most of the time, people are going to pick up and answer and just try to help you in some way.
Right.
And I always feel like this sense to like give it back because it's like there's no way that anyone would have done that for me. So now when somebody asks me for anything, I'm like, let's get it figured out. Like I had a classmate of mine from college that she's looking at starting a business. So she reached out to me and was like, hey, I have this dream for this thing. You're the first person I thought of. Like, what should I do? So I connected her with like 3 other people. I'm like, these are the people that would help you. I'm probably not going to be able to, but I'm like, here's who you need to talk to, you know? It's like, I'll do that all the time because it's like people took a chance on me for things. I'm like, I need to just pay that back. But I feel like that doesn't happen everywhere. You know, you go out to the West Coast or whatever, and I've had coworkers of mine and classmates that have moved to like California, and it's like everyone's so in their own world and no one will talk to you unless they think they can use you for, you know, social engineering to get where they want to be. It's never just like neighborly or nice.
Right.
There's always an angle.
Yes, and I'll also add to that in my experience. So I run and walk on the Clive Greenbelt Trail all the time, like every day. Most days, I shouldn't say every day, but I have like a official, unofficial, like friendliness, like counter that goes on in my brain. Like 9 out of 10 people will say hello or wave to you, and you don't even know them. And so I just recently have traveled to New York City, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, like zero waves and hellos. And if that's like your style, cool. But like this is our style, and I love it. Like I'm here to make this place better. I'm here to I'm here to let other people know that they matter, you know, too. Like, I think that just a little bit of effort, that community connection that you're just talking about is so important to just like a good life. And I think that's why I love it so much. And while this place is so cool to like sell as a product or a place.
Sure. I love that. And just kind of getting on the other side too, you talk about metrics, tracking people, and kind of disconnect from the wholeheartedness, greatness of what you're trying to do and the mission behind it. Have there been people that you've tracked through all levels of that funnel, that somebody that you might know now that they came for a concert or an event and then they loved it so much they came back, and then they came for a job event. They got hired here. Now, have you tracked anybody or have seen that in your own time that you've seen, like someone's path to becoming a Des Moinesian, if that's the word?
Yeah.
Des Moineite?
I like both of those.
Okay. Des Moiner.
Yes. Maybe Raygun should make shirts
Des Moiner.
with those names on them. I like it. Yes, to your question. So several people just came to my mind. We had most recently a story about a person who had been a traveling nurse and had worked at hospitals all over the United States and came here and they were like, this is the place. This is the place. So that was a cool story. We also recently heard a story of a YP young professional who moved here from Venezuela. Ooh. And I was like, wow, that's cool. You decided to come here, and she shared that like she knew she could make a difference here and like she could get support that she needed for her business. So that was a cool story too. So I love those stories. I used to think that my story of like, oh, we're just going to move here for 2 years and fell in love and now it's our home. I thought that was unique. It is special to me, right? Of course it's special to our family, but like now that I get to talk with all kinds of people from all over the community, I hear that story all the time from different places, and I think it's pretty cool.
That's great. When I think about too, I mean, this is all very recent for me because I just traveled, and I mean, the news from the airport's got to be a huge helpful thing that the airport's expanding. And then, do you know any more details about that? Like, I think they just broke ground, right? They're kind of starting that. I mean, I was there, but I was also like half asleep when I was at the airport, so I saw construction going on.
Yes,
so.
There is construction happening, and that means progress. So that's what we want. The growth of the airport is so important. So, interesting story for you. So whenever I lived in Austin, the airport in Austin, not kidding you, was just a smidge bigger and had a smidge more restaurants than our current Des Moines International Airport.
That's crazy.
It's wild. So
because we're a small. I mean, we're like not dinky, but
yeah,
it's not the biggest place. You never get lost in there. It's just one
you
linear.
You would not get lost there. But so obviously, like Austin airport is completely different and like 5 times what it was. I will tell you though, like the reason that has grown, and granted, it has been a long time since I've lived in Austin. And it is so impressive what they've done there. I think that our airport, we have big visions there, and I think the growth of it is just going to help better serve our businesses and the people who live here. And so excited to see the growth of that, and going to take some time, but you know, this is something that we've been wanting to accomplish for a long time, and it is happening, and we are pumped.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I think of like how Austin's shaped, because you grew up there.
Yes.
What are your opinions on it? I'm sure it's a completely different place now, because I know from my distant understanding of what is going on in that city, but tell me a little bit about what it was like when you grew up there, and then what it's like now, and if you like it, don't like it, what's kind of your opinion
it's
on
so
it?
different. So my mom went to University of Texas, and she'd be like, well, this used to be a dirt road. And now it's like, you know, a giant 8-lane highway. So she's seen way more change than I have. But it's hard. I don't even recognize it when I go back. It's so wild. We lived on the west side of Austin, thinking directions here, and so it's just crazy. It's hard to even fathom. And I think as change relates to Des Moines, you know, we've been here for 12 years, as mentioned, and the growth that we've had and the change that I've seen since I've been here is impressive too. I think I've heard people say, Des Moines is the next Austin. And I'm like, I think Des Moines is the next Des Moines. You know, like we're ourselves, and we won't be Austin. We're cool like Austin is, but in our own way.
Sure. Well, I know just from, like I said, the young people that I know that I had college with or high school or whatever, everyone's kind of floating between Austin, Nashville, and LA. But it's interesting though, because the people that I was at that wedding with in Nashville, they're wanting to start having kids. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I mean, all their families in Iowa. And like, oh, we'll probably be moving back to Des Moines in like the next 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And they're not even from Des Moines, but they're like, we want the job opportunity.
Yes.
There's like, it's the minier version of Nashville in that sense, but it's also, you know, with the Allegiant flight, we can go visit. It's an hour and a 15-minute flight. If we want to come back and see friends or go to Broadway or whatever, it's like, we would rather be closer to family and still have all the other amenities that we want. So I thought that was really interesting because I didn't tell them to move back, but I was like, well, that'd be cool because then if you're back, we can like go get drinks or we can have like a kids play date whenever you start having kids or whatever. You know, it's kind of that whole thing too.
Yeah. We call that segment the boomerangers. So getting those people back because I think they know the quality of life that's here and that they want to raise their family in. So if you need a PowerPoint to send to them or a brochure, you know who to call.
Yes. Something nice, well-branded. Like, look, this was just happened to be my desk. Here it is.
Yeah, we are working on a beautiful relocation packet right now. So I'll save a couple for you to give to your friends.
That's great.
Okay.
I would really appreciate that.
You got it. Easy.
That's great. To kind of tie this back in here, we're coming up on the end. I wanted to make sure we touched on this, though, because I think as a marketing professional, it's really fun to talk with other marketing professionals and kind of pick your brain a little bit on like what works, what doesn't. And I know you guys probably do a slew of things to try to attract and retain people in Des Moines. So run me through a little bit of like just like bullet point list of like billboards, mailers, like social media, Google ads. Like, what do you guys do? Or I should ask, what don't you do? Because it's probably a lot of different things. And we can kind of start there. And then we'll talk about like things that have worked best for you guys in this role that you're doing now and things that you like or that are on the horizon for marketing tactics that get attention and do what you're trying to do.
Okay. So we have various campaigns from a marketing and advertising standpoint, all the way from like how we're marketing and advertising the Downtown Farmers Market and World Food and Music Festival, all the way to our economic development digital marketing campaigns and our talent attraction digital marketing campaigns. And those are more digitally focused. We do have some like more traditional assets, if you will, but our audience that we're reaching is online. That's where people are, right? And so it makes more sense to connect with them, digital ads and email marketing and social media in that space. And I think what I'll say for our talent attraction campaign is that the way that we go about finding our audiences is what's the right word I'm looking for? Is threefold. So there is the people who live in the Midwest and are more likely to stay in the Midwest. And so we have different specific areas in the Midwest that we're targeting. We also look at industry, like what other industries or in other locations that are similar to ours, and targeting people there because, we have our specific needs for workforce here. Mm-hmm. And then we're also looking at places who have low quality of life, to be quite honest, and saying like, you can have a better life here. You just can. I actually spoke with someone the other day who moved here from California because they had a larger family. It was hard for them to afford. They moved here and their family had way more access to be able to live in a better lifestyle. So anyway, back to the marketing aspect of the thing. So we're typically more digital when it comes to that. And one tactic that we do from a digital standpoint too is geofencing, and where it makes sense whenever we do have visitors that come here, and we have quite a few because of the great work that Catch Des Moines is doing. We geofence different events where we know there are going to be a lot of tourists, and we know that tourists are important to getting talent here too. So we go about it in different ways, and what I think is most important is making sure that you have the right message, using the right channel to the right audience at the right time. And I think that's what makes the approach more strategic and more actionable and more results oriented.
I love that answer because there's so many, it's not one singular funnel, right? You're not selling a widget to dads that are 35 to 50. It's a lawnmower or something. It's like, oh, it's springtime, blah, blah. It's like there is like 15 to 20 different funnels of like, you could be a young professional coming to town for a conference. You could be, like you said, a boomeranger that's going back, maybe a retiree. You might be somebody who's lived in another city that's coming back. Like, there's so many ways to connect people. But I think, to your point, meeting people where they're at is so important and with the right message. And it's not just a billboard in Des Moines about, hey, you should move to Des Moines. It's like, well, clearly people that are looking at that are already here. It's like, where is that billboard? Is it in Omaha? Is it in Minneapolis? Is it in St. Louis? Like, those types of things are really critical of like placement and then time and that type of thing.
Yes.
But I also know just in my work doing videos for large companies downtown, like F&G is a really good example. I've shot with them, and they do quarterly connection events. So it's every 3 months they'll do a all company social in Des Moines, and they have employees around the whole country. So there's like buckets in Baltimore and Cincinnati and all over. They all fly in, they host them in a new place, and they do this crazy like over the wall party. They'll have like all these different things, and there's 1,000 people that come here, and I've done interviews with them, and it's like, I'm from Baltimore, and this is such a cool place. Like, I love Des Moines. This is so cool. And it's like, those little things are so cool because, okay, if you find the top 50 employers that have 1,000 or more employees that are not regional, how do we help encourage them to have those events here? And if everyone's kind of having that remote burnout, how do we encourage this community and this connection and the excitement to come here and experience that and maybe have a concert or an event or some kind of give them tickets to an iCubs game or whatever. Like, those types of things are really fun to kind of activate people. And then you get them back, a couple times. And then, like you said, they're like, well, I'm single and I don't have anything else going on in Baltimore or Cincinnati or wherever. I'm going to move to Des Moines.
Right. Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Good for F&G. That's awesome.
Yeah. I know there's more because I've done other things like that too. Where I'm like, my first questions, I was like, where are you from? What are you doing? And then you kind of get that. I like it here. This is pretty cool.
Oh, I love it. It never gets old. Never gets old for me. Like, yeah, well, tell me your story. Tell me how. And that's another component that we haven't talked much about, but maybe indirectly we have is storytelling and the importance of that. Because I think as part of marketing a place, you have to be able to show people living here and why they live here and those different stories all the way from like you were saying, someone who's maybe lived here for 2 years and they're a young professional and they're seeing the connections, they're getting involved, all the way to grandparents that have moved here to maybe be with family and go to soccer games and things like that. So we want to tell all those different stories, which is another really cool component to the work that we do, is getting to hear those.
For sure. And I think too, like as I moved away from Southeast Iowa, I go home every couple weeks or so, a couple months. It's getting to be more like every quarter. Once a quarter, I'll take a trip down there 3 hours away. But it's fun because like my mom lives on a acreage out there. It's like 11, 12 acres. Like there's wooded areas. There's like 4-wheeler trails and a pond. And it's like you get a different experience if you go to rural Iowa like that compared to coming in the city. Or if you go in the suburbs, it's like, it's all different, right?
Yes.
So it's like, the older I get, the more I just like being, like, the further you get away from those experiences, the more you kind of want to come back and just see those things again. Or you might appreciate, when you're a teenager, you don't appreciate, like, a campfire and a pond and crickets and stuff. And then when you're like my age, I'm like, that was pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
I took this for granted before when I don't get it all the time,
Yeah, for sure. And we have all those offerings here right in Greater Des Moines. Like you can live, in a more rural place or right in the middle of the city. And I think it makes us special, right? It's pretty cool.
Sure. Well, when people were giving me, they weren't giving me crap. They were asking, why is your studio in Granger, Iowa? And I'm like, because it's like 15 minutes away from Des Moines. The property values are way lower in cost, so it's not an arm and a leg. It's 10 minutes from my house. It's quiet because everyone that lives here works in the city and they're gone all day. And I get to just enjoy the quiet. It's like, it's perfect for what I need. So,
like, why not Granger is maybe the question instead.
Right. Yeah. And like, if I had a like brick and mortar front facing business that had to have foot traffic, that's a little different story, but just a studio. It's like, again, it's like you find what you want and what makes sense for you.
Yeah. So, what you need. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So final question here. I mean, you mentioned you have 3 boys.
Yes.
What's your guys' personal favorite thing to do as a group in Des Moines? What's something that comes to the top of your head as an activity that the boys and everybody is excited to do as a family?
Gosh, that's a tough one. There are so many. I will say I'm going to go with iCubs games. We go to several of those. We're a big baseball family. All of our boys play a variety of sports. They all play baseball. There's just something to like go into the ballpark, getting a hot dog, getting some popcorn, maybe a beer or two, for the adults, obviously, and then getting to stick around and watch the fireworks too. It's just like on those perfect summer nights. So that makes it special. And also, the World Series is going on, so we're all baseball right now, and it's been pretty fun. So that's just one of the many things. Plus, okay, I'll just one more. It's fall, so like pumpkin patches are a big hit, and
orchards. And
yes.
Have you been to Center Grove? Or
yes.
What's your favorite orchard?
Oh, I don't know if I could pick a favorite. We did just go to Center Grove. That was a blast. And we've gone to Howell's. Love that place too. When you think about apples, I immediately also go to the Winterset Cidery. Can't go wrong there. Yeah. I just hit all kinds of different areas.
Getting that fall season, everyone's like, we're going every weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I know last year I did a bunch of videos for Center Grove. So I was there like 12 or 15 times in the fall. And family kept wanting to go. And I'm like, guys, I've been here like constantly shooting. I'm like, I'm so over it. But it's not that I don't like the place. I'm like, we went back again this fall and love going there. But I'm like, can we go anywhere else? Like, I'm just tired of being in this one place and driving all the way to Cambridge. But it's a really fun place to see. Like,
it is.
The waves of people that just want to do their fall stuff, get the pumpkins, do the maze, the maze tour or whatever, the corn maze and all the stuff. It's just fun. But I think the baseball stuff, I will have to agree, is like a very, very fun thing. I can't even tell you what that's a hard one.
I know. I started thinking I really love like the trails here. Like, how lucky are we to have the amazing trails that we do, and I use them all the time.
Yep. Well, and we live in Polk City, and we have two bodies of water in town. So you got Big Creek and Lake Saylorville. So it's like anytime in the summer, trails or just going out on a pontoon or just going, canoeing around, whatever it is, they're just so much fun to do. And I feel like the older I get, the more I just want to be outside because it's very fun. Because when you're an adult, you kind of get trapped behind a screen a lot. So it's hard to get out and enjoy things unless you do that for work. So
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've talked a lot about it, a lot of stuff. I want to be mindful of your time. Where can people find more about you, connect with you, and then also how can they learn more about Des Moines?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Courtney Shaw, and about Des Moines, there are so many great places. You can go to our website, dsmpartnership.com. You can go to Do Something Greater, Greater DS. You can go to Do Something Greater. DSM.com.
I'm sure there's a lot of URLs that go through your head in a day, so we'll give you a break on that one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And you can follow us on all of our social channels too.
Awesome. Well, it's great having you on the podcast.
Thank
you so much for coming over. And it's really cool. Like I'm a big proponent of Des Moines. Obviously, I worked for the partnership and I just enjoy telling people about the city because it's such a cool combination of like small town values with big city opportunity. I think it's a really cool
well said
combination. I'm not just, she doesn't have a gun to my head, people, if you're listening and not watching. But
I paid him.
Yes, I'm being bribed. But no, I genuinely enjoy being here. So I appreciate you coming on and telling us all the stuff you guys are doing. So
thanks, I appreciate that. It's been an honor. It's been really cool to watch you grow in your career, and that's been really great to watch your work progress, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Rhymes with the Odd podcast. If you've gotten this far on the show, make sure to give us a 5-star review on iTunes or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. My name is Ryan Snod. It Rhymes with Odd, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.